do tap the orange button first, sign the front desk, sign the
There
form, and once
Let's see. Was that you, Tim?
That was Sean.
That was Sean. Okay. Geez, Sean, you rookie.
I got him with the umbrella.
So anyway, guys, good morning. We appreciate you being here. We do this every Tuesday. If you're a guest with us, thanks for coming out. This same Zoom link, hang on to it. Same time every week. We've been doing this now for, I don't know, a couple, 2-3 years at this point. Just have an archive of just phenomenal trainings, stuff that's going on. We just recently picked out a top 25 list that we're kind of putting into a playlist and working on that, because I'm just telling you, if you plug into some of this stuff that you're learning on these Tuesday masterminds, I mean, there's no reason you can't add, 8, 10, 20 deals to your pipeline this year. It's all stuff that's working. We're just having some great stuff on here every week. The first Tuesday of every month, we do an open mastermind. So next Tuesday, hard to believe, first Tuesday of March already, it'll just be open forum. So bring your questions, bring your ideas, bring your thoughts. You got a certain deal you're stuck on, or you got some marketing questions, or anything you guys want to talk about. That's what we start the month off with every week. So that'll be next Tuesday. Today, one of our Freedom Team founders is on here, and Tim, we've all become great friends over the years, and Tim and I now, the last few years here, along with Sean and Eric and Kathy, helping to kind of coordinate the whole Freedom Team group. It's been such a blessing, I think, for all of us, and definitely to be in there with all of you. We love just, pouring into you guys whatever we can. Tim's been around 22 years in the business, kind of like me, started in 2002 at ERA. And then actually in 2010, he moved over to Remax in Louisville, Kentucky, is where he's at. 2011, he bought his own Remax franchise and very quickly grew that. 30 agents. They were, way up there in the top of town. They're in Louisville, top 3. He had a team, the Hollinden team, top 3 Remax teams in Louisville. A Diamond Club winner, which for Remax, that's the top award that Remax gives out. You earn $1 million in commission in a year, and you're part of the Diamond Club. He won that 3 of the last 5 years he was there. And a lot of that came from what he's going to talk about today with Expireds and FSBO. So he sold his Remax franchise back in 2018 and joined EXP. Now leads his own organization here of 300 agents, overseeing that. He was an ICON for the first 3 years he was here. He's pulled back some on production on purpose, part of the benefits of what EXP can allow us to do over time. So he's taking advantage of that, but just has, just a long history, a great history of coaching, pouring into his agents, doing some big things with his group there in Louisville, and definitely with all of us. So just excited to have him on here. We're going to do part 1 today. We're going to do part 2 of this in March. You'll definitely want to come back for that. But Tim, why don't you take it away? We appreciate you jumping in here. I got my pen and pad ready to go, because we're all looking for new ways to get new deals and more listings and whatever. We've worked Expireds and FSBOs over time, but they haven't been around for a long time. Really, Expireds have been just kind of non-existent, but they're coming back. So why don't you talk a little bit about that? Appreciate you being on here, man. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate the nice intro there, and welcome everybody. Please turn your cameras on. I'm going to try to do some show of hands. I'd like to see some results here. So please turn your camera on if you can, make this a little more interactive. Yet it's going to be very relaxed. I'm not going to get too technical. I actually built this program from kind of an act of laziness. I hate to cold call. I've done it. I was decent at it, but I hated it. So I've adopted, and this was true in my prior life too, I adopted what I call a shotgun strategy. A shotgun shell has many, many bullets in it, and you shoot it up in the air and you can kill a lot of birds, and you focus on the ones that fall to the ground. Alternatively, a rifle has 1 bullet, and you shoot 1 bird at a time, and 1 bird at a time falls to the ground. I like the shotgun approach. So really that's what this is about. This is about pumping up massive amounts of direct mail, and do it with guarantees, and do it with awesome attention grabbing headlines. What I'm going to show you is pretty crude on purpose. It's not all about my brand. It's not all about me. It's to get in the freaking front door. So that's what this is about. So again, thanks for being here. Turn some more cameras on. And let me ask you, how many people, show of hands, how many people love to cold call? One. Boo.
Totally kidding. No way.
I'm booing. How many people hate to cold call? Most of the rest of you, and everybody else is probably somewhere in between. So, you can sit down every day. A dear friend of mine, Michael Higdon, he cold calls 3 hours a day and he has a business and he crushes it, but that's not me. And as Jeff said, and I built this program actually January 1 of 2008 in the middle of our recession. And I grew my business every single year in those down years of 2008, 9, 10, and 11. And as Jeff said, the result, I've titled this, How I Made $1 Million a Year in GCI. And it all starts with Expireds and FSBOs. So I'm going to share the screen and get rolling here. And please raise your hand to ask a question or put your question in the chat box. Jeff, if you'll help me kind of monitor that, please just stop me if it's something on point and I'll address it right then and there. Otherwise, we'll catch everything up at the tail end if it's not relevant to exactly what's being talked about at the time.
There you
go. All right. Everybody seeing that okay now?
Yep, we're good.
Okay. So again, how I made $1 million a year in GCI, and it all starts with Expireds and FSBOs. Ladies and gentlemen, 70% of my listing business came from this program I'm going to share with you today. And Jeff, remind me, I will share with you 7 letters and the sign-off sheet that I use. We're going to go over those in this training. I'm going to go over them briefly. It would take 2 hours to go through them in detail, but you're going to get the point. And again, I did all this with no cold calling, not chasing prospects, and the people actually call me. In fact, the typical phone call I would ultimately receive is, Tim, if you're half as good of selling real estate as you are getting my attention to call you, we need to talk. So that's what this is about. Moving right along. There we go. Slide was not advancing. Part 1, as Jeff said, we're going to try to do a 2-part series here. We'll get through as much of it today as we can. And part 2 may end up being only FSBOs if we get through the Expireds today. Otherwise, we'll kind of finish up on Expireds in the March training and talk about FSBOs as well. But this is something you should be able to do in under an hour a day. Far less, as Jeff said, Expireds are coming back. My market's coming back. I'm starting to see 3, 4, 5, 6 a day in a market that's got 500,000 people in greater Louisville, Kentucky, a market that's got 4,500 agents. I started this, and in the first couple of days, it took me a couple of hours to kind of build the program. It took me about an hour the first few days, and then I literally got this done in about 15 minutes a day. And at the time I built this, I was seeing probably 12 to 30 expireds every single day. So how many people could mail to 12 to 30 people every single day, do it year round, and sell 10, 12, 15, 20 more deals? I think we all could. This is about being consistent, doing it every single day, being memorable, attention-grabbing headlines, and not easing up. So this is a 7-letter direct mail campaign, as I mentioned. We're going to either hand address, which I don't recommend, or mail merge, print directly to a number 10 envelope with only an address as the return address. I don't want your name in the return address. I just want 123 Main Street, Louisville, Kentucky, 40219, whatever it is. There's reason for that. You've got to get them to open the mail. And if they see Remax or Coldwell Banker or Keller Williams or EXP or whatever your brand is, there's a really good chance it's going to go straight into the trash can. So you want secrecy on the envelope. And I'm going to show you an example envelope before we finish up today. Massive attention-grabbing headlines. And I want you to make a guarantee. And before we talk about guarantees, disclaimer, check with your state's regulations or your state broker to make sure you maintain compliance. Some states don't allow guarantees. I don't consider mine as a guaranteed sale program. Jeff and Aaron Ken and other people have trained about guaranteed sales. This is a guarantee. I will sell it, or, and I'm going to cover that here in just a minute. So attention grabbing headlines with a guarantee. Simple steps. The very first time you sit down and do this, that's why it says one time only, you're going to create your 7 letters, 1 through 7 in your favorite word processor. And Jeff will share my Word docs with you in the post that we put on Workplace. And anybody else that's not with EXP, not a part of Workplace, reach out to me directly, or Jeff or somebody at EXP that can access those for you. And I'll make sure you get them.
We can put them in the YouTube. So we'll do them there.
Yep. Perfect. Create your list format in your favorite spreadsheet program. Now, what I'm talking about there is the massive big list is what I'm going to refer to it, that holds all the data. So day one, you're just creating the columns that you're going to put all the data into. You're going to create a second spreadsheet for the day's mail merge, because we're going to be copying out of the big list, pasting into the daily list. And from that, we're going to mail merge that, direct impression, print the names and addresses on those number 10 envelopes. And that's the last point. Learn how to do a mail merge. I'm a Microsoft guy. I used Word and Excel. You can use whatever you want, but you're going to have to learn how to do a mail merge. So honestly, you're probably going to have 3 or 4 hours of learning and getting this stuff set up, but it's one and done, guys and gals. One and done. You're only going to need 7 things. Your big list, your list of expireds from last night, and let's talk about that for a minute. If you're a struggling agent right now, and many of us are, I'm going to say do every expired in your area. Now, when I was doing it, I limited mine a little bit. I didn't want anything under $100,000. So when I set up my expired list, I look at everything that expired last night that was $100,000 and greater, or maybe certain areas of town I didn't want to. You know, pull up a hot sheet, just like you would a hot sheet on new active listings, only a hot sheet for expireds and cancels. So you're going to get that from last night. You can do this 5 or 6 times a week, depending on whether you want to mail on Saturday or not. I only did mine 5 days a week. So on Monday, I got all the expireds from Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I went back 3 days instead of just 1. Your today list, these are the people I said you're going to mail to today. That's a smaller list of just the people that deserve a letter today. And they may be getting 1 of 7 letters. So I'm going to show you how to do that as well. A big stock of number 10 envelopes. I personally bought them for $9.99 at Costco, box of 500. I'd buy 5 or 10 boxes a month. We'll talk about costs on all that here when we get done. A stock of your pre-printed expired letters. So I've got 7 letters in a Word document. I would sit down, and I had no assistant at this time. Eventually, I hired an assistant, built my team back, and so forth. And I had somebody helping me do all this. But you're going to print letter number 1 in color, 50 copies. And what I did was one of those great big little envelope slot things. So I had all my letter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And when we talk about FSBOs, it was A, B, C, D, E, F, G. On there too. So a lot of those pre-printed, so you're ready to go. I invested because this was massive. I mean, I was literally sending probably 500 on average every single month. So I invested in a paper folder. I'd pull out 20 or so of those expireds anytime I had some free time, threw them in a paper folder, tri-folded it, and I put it back in the slot for number 1, did the same thing for number 2. So I'm trying to teach you systems as well, just some things I've learned to make this as easy as possible. Next thing you're going to need is your MLS, and you're going to need access to your tax records, because we want to find out who owns that property and address them personally on the envelope. Any questions so far, Jeff? Are we good?
We're good.
Okay. The big list. So creating your big list, you're going to create your spreadsheet columns, and across the top, you're going to have the owner name, the property address, the owner address. Why 2 addresses? Because some of these expireds were non-owner occupant properties. They were rental properties. The seller was trying to sell them. You don't want to mail this expired letter to whoever the renter is in that house. You want it to go to where the owner lives. So that's where the tax records come in. In addition to getting the owner name, you want to know where they live. Most of the time, probably 85% of the time, the address is the same. But I learned that the hard way, because I started mailing to the renters saying, oh my gosh, the seller's not even getting this. It's being returned to sender because that's not their address on the property. City, state, and zip. The day I enter it into the spreadsheet And then I've got columns for 7 future mailings, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that. So real quick, if your tax database or if your MLS breaks this down in any other way, maybe it's owner name, first name, last name, maybe it's all in one field, make the adjustments to make your life simple. The spreadsheets have ways to pull data apart, and they also have ways to put data back together. And what I'm talking about is Tim plus Hollinden in 2 fields. You can put that in a 3rd field called Tim Hollinden if you want to make it just owner name. That's probably too deep, but make it simple. I like simplicity, and that's the name of this game. Next is list of last night's expired. So again, MLS hot sheet, everything that expired yesterday if you're doing it Monday through Friday. If you're going to mail on Saturday, you're going to have a 6th mailing every week. And if you only do Monday, you're going to do everything, excuse me, if you're going to go to Monday and skip Saturday and Sunday, then remember to do the expireds from Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday night. Now, when you get that, now I'm in the MLS, I'm seeing my whole list of expired. Literally, we're just going to copy off the MLS, the address, and we're going to paste it on the address column in the spreadsheet. And I'm going to show you examples of these here in a slide or two. So copy paste onto your big list for each expired, and you can add canceleds to that as well if you want to mark it to cancels in the same way. I did not do that. I just stuck to expireds. Can't really tell you why, but that's the way I did it. Now the MLS hot sheet, the next thing you're going to do after you've got all your expireds added to your big list, you also want to know what came active last night, because some of those expireds were relisted already. And I don't want to mail to them, wasting my stamp, my time, my money, nor do I want to mail to them if they're already back on the market and violate a real estate law. Even though I always said on the bottom of my letters, if your house is currently marketed, don't consider this a solicitation. So you're doing the hot sheet the first time for the expireds, the second time for the actives. And in that, you're going to take the actives and you're just going to copy that address and you're going to place it in the find feature of your spreadsheet and see if that address is anywhere on your sheet. And guys and gals, this sheet's going to get huge over time. I still have a spreadsheet of people that expired in 08, 09, 010, all the way to December 31, 2019 is when I stopped because things weren't expiring at all. And then we've started this back up again. So I still have a list of somebody that's expired that never sold their property. Just keep up with it. Always check the actives every day and keep that list up to date. Because what do you do with that big list after you're done mailing 7 letters? Periodically, you might send out thousands. Every spring, I would take that same list and I would do a spring postcard. Have you thought any more about selling your home this year? That kind of thing. So it's a great way to pump out 10,000, 20,000 pieces of mail at a time. And I did that once a year. So the actives allows you to move that expired. Search the tax records. So we've got all the expireds. We've deleted all those that came back on the market. We've got great expired data as of this point in time. That's not to say somebody could relist again this afternoon after I've already gotten the mail out in the box, but you'll pick that up tomorrow. Search the tax records to find the owner name and the possible address that they actually reside in if it's different from the property address that expired. We've talked about that. Put each one of those owner names in the big list. And then how do you sort all this? How do you keep track of what letter people are due? What I did, today is Tuesday. Everything that expired on Monday, I mail them a letter on Tuesday. They get it on Wednesday. That's letter number 1. And then as a point of having my big mailing once a week, I mailed whatever letter that person was due that week. So in the case of our example, they expired yesterday on Monday. I mailed a letter on Tuesday. They receive it on Wednesday. I mailed them letter 2 on Friday. I mailed them letter 3 the following Friday, 4 the Friday after that, et cetera, et cetera. NAR says when you're talking about FSBOs, and granted, this is an expired training, but I think this is true. NAR says the FSBOs they give up after 8 weeks or somewhere right before 8 weeks. I think it's actually 6 or 7 now. Expireds are not that different. The people that are pounding the phones that love to do code calling, they're calling all the expireds from yesterday, and most of them give up and don't ever call again. That's why this system works, is because I'm on them, Tuesday, Friday, 7 letters, 7 times, all 7 letters say something different. And it's all about getting my butt in the door to list their property. So on your column for today, you're going to put the number 1. They get letter number 1. Friday, the number 2. And I'll show you this here in 1 second, how all that goes. And then 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So here we go. There's your name, your property address, the address, city, state, zip, the date it was entered, and then here's a week. What I did is I pre-formatted my Excel sheet. I've got 5 days. That represents Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I put a yellow highlighted column as the weekend just to give me some visual separation. So if we were doing mailing today, you know, we would have a 1 here, we'd have a 2 here, we'd have a 3 here, and so on. Making sense? Everybody good? Okay. This is what I called Tim today. These were the mailings that Tim had to mail today. Now, remember, on the big list, let me back up. Whatever day it was, if tomorrow I would sort this column for Wednesday, and obviously on Wednesday, the only thing I'm going to see are my letter number 1s for the expireds from Tuesday. But when we get to Friday, it's going to look something like this, where I see 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s, 6s. And remember, I did this for FSBOs too. So there was also A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. So I would sort my big list on this day by the number and or letter in the column for the day. And that gives me my mail merged list. And then this mail merge list is merged with this letter. No Tim Hollinden, no EXP Realty, just an address, a suite number, and the client's first and last name and their mailing address. That's what that looks like. I'm going to stop here and address any questions up to this point, because I'm going to start showing you what the campaign looks like next.
What questions do you have, Alex? Go ahead.
Hey, Jeff, thanks for putting this together.
Yeah.
Tim, I'm sure you're familiar with Ricky Carruth and his process of doing this. He talks about actually handwriting the letters. Everybody has a different system. I'm just curious why you chose to go with the typewritten format and how it's worked for you, if you've done a side-by-side comparison, et cetera.
I have not, but the answer to your question is I'm lazy. I want to do this fast. I want to get in and get out, get it done. I can't tell you how satisfying it is to get up at 6 a.m. and by 7 a.m. I've got 100 letters in the mailbox ready for the postal person to pick it up. If I handwrite 100 letters, it would probably take 3 hours. So that's the truth.
I like that truth.
My daughter started helping with me. I'm licensed in Kentucky and Indiana, so I belong to 2 MLSs. My daughter took over the Indiana expired campaign for me in that MLS. She hand wrote everything. She didn't want to learn the process that I've taught you so far. And in Indiana, there weren't as many expiring every day. She hand wrote every letter. And the responses I got, I didn't do formal testing, but I can tell you in my gut, it did not work as well.
Okay.
I don't know why. And yeah, Ricky probably teaches to handwrite it, but I don't think Ricky handwrites all of his. I'm sure you can pay a service to make it look like cursive writing now, and that's probably what he's doing today, if he's still doing it at all. But yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Who else?
I just have a thought real quick. I'm like, as you're going through all that, there's that like in my head, I'm going like, oh my God, like this is like major. But I see it where once you just, again, take the 3 or 4 hours to set it up, it's done.
Absolutely.
And now you've got a system, and like anything, just getting that system set up and running here's the labor part. But once it's up, it's like, wow, now you just get up every day and hit a couple buttons and it's printing and you're pushing in envelopes and doing it. And you're out there, like you said, in an hour, you just sent out 100 letters. Yep. I see what this could do, once it's set up. So I just want to encourage people, like, if you're just like, oh my God, you're like, your head starts spinning as you're looking at all this stuff. If you can learn just to get it set up, it's a done deal, and what that can turn into. So Carmen, go ahead. You have your hand raised.
Yeah, thank you. You mentioned something about organizing your letters. Do you have those pre-printed by a company and then you have them? Because you said something like you have all your pre-printed letters and then you just pick them out. And then I assume then you put them in your printer and it prints the mail merge somewhere on the letter?
Yeah, good question, Carmen. Thank you. I printed all my letters myself. Color laser printer or color inkjet. Actually, a laser's better because the toner lasts forever. Inkjet, it dries up if you go through a dry spell. But no, I printed all my letters myself, and then I put them in that little mailbox-like divider where all the letters were laid out, single, one on top of the other. And then periodically I'd throw a bunch of them in the paper folder and I'd put them right back in with say I got 50 letters, 8.5 by 11 sitting on their pages on top of each other, and then I would have the pre-folded letters in there. The mail merge is not to the letter; it's only onto the address on the envelope.
Oh, okay. So you don't have their name and address on the letter itself?
Nope.
Okay, that's where I was getting. Okay, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Anybody else? Yeah, Brett. You're muted, buddy.
You're muted, Brett.
Yeah. So what's your average once you got this up and going and it's been going for 30 days, what's your average listings coming in a month just from this program?
When I was seeing 12 to 20 expireds a day, and a good many of those would immediately reactivate. So I don't know what the actual number was, but I would see, I got probably 1 or 2 listings the first month, but it really started taking off after they started getting multiple letters. And you're going to see why here in a second. My first letter says that the headline is, I will sell your home in 39 days or I'll sell it for free, guaranteed. That's the attention grabber. That's are you kidding me? How do you do that? Let's talk. Well, I first need to see your house, see if your home would be approved for the program. Let's get together. So it basically just got me in the door. But this truly, I mean, I would have 60 listings. That's probably not, it's probably less than that. 60 listings was when I was doing a whole bunch of REO business. But I probably carried 30 listings at a time because of this program. Wow. And it's just about getting started and then doing it every single day, except Sundays. And I didn't do it Saturday or Sunday. I just caught it up on Monday, as I said. But they get 7 letters over time, and many of them eventually call. So I think it's just as good and a whole lot easier. Costs a little more because I'm paying for a stamp and an envelope and a sheet of paper and a little bit of toner. So I probably got, in today's postal rates, I probably got 60 cents a letter in cost. I don't want to do it direct mail. I mean, excuse me, what do you call it? The cheaper mailing, bulk mail. I don't want to use bulk mail rates because it takes forever for those to actually get in the mailbox of the person you're sending to. Does that answer your question, Brett?
You bet. Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you.
So I would say consistently I'd get 2 or 3 listings a month. Now, the good news is there's not a ton of expireds today. This is why you want to start this now, because you're going to figure out, get the kinks worked out of your own system. And by the time, if expired start increasing over time and you've got 50 a day, you're going to have the system that scales because you built it right the first time. And you figured it out when there was 2, 3, 4, 5 a day. Make sense?
Yeah.
Hey, Tim, I had a comment on costs. I don't know if you're going to get, I figured at some point you might get into cost cutting options on print media and things like that. Title companies are notoriously really good for that. They have abilities to cover postage, cover costs. You can give them the spreadsheet, and some of them will even mail them for you with what you want on it. That's an easy way for them to absorb a cost in their own business that doesn't violate any laws for them. So that's a easy way to do it. And our title company here in Dallas, they use something called Agent Pro or something like that, Print Pro, and it is crazy cheap for mailing and things like that. And they'll mail like professional looking postcards. I don't want to come off your plan. You got a really good, sophisticated plan, but the costs can be cumbersome for some of us paying this direct, these mailing campaigns and stuff like that. That's an easy way to help save.
No, that's an excellent point. I did not do that at the time. I did go into a formal marketing agreement with a lender or two sometime after I started this. but I never asked them to pay for part of this. I probably should have, my bad, but yeah, you're absolutely right.
Well, it would require them to
somebody-
be on the advertising if they were paying for it. So title companies don't have to show up on anything, but lenders are going to want to have a piece of the advertising.
Exactly. Excellent point. Thanks for sharing that. Anybody else before I move on to what the 7 letters look like?
There's a couple quick questions in the chat, but go ahead, Alex. You got your hand raised. Go ahead.
Thanks. Tim, actually, I like your program because it allows you to kind of budget too, if you think about it, right? You can say, I'm just going to do 10 per day. And then as I progress, I can go to whatever, the amount is. So to Sean's point and to yours, it kind of does both.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I controlled, I don't know if you were here in the beginning, but I controlled the quantity to an extent because I was picky about who I mailed to. I didn't want this zip code, or this MLS area, or anything under this price. So that was built into my hot sheet. And I'll give you a tip real quick. If you do a hot sheet for expireds and you say, let's just be super geographic and we want them all because we need listings right now. I don't care if it's a $50,000 listing in the worst part of town. Let's assume that. You literally could say, show me every expired, and I'm going to put for my example purposes, I'm going to say everything $100,000 or less, or more that expired yesterday. And when you go back and do your actives to see if properties relisted, don't use 100,000 again, because if they expired yesterday at 100, there's a chance they relisted at 90 or 95. So always give yourself at least a 10% buffer when you go back and you look at your active hot sheet versus your expired hot sheet, and make sure that you're catching those that came back on the market and did a price reduction. Does that make sense? Okay.
Tim, real quick, in the chat here, just a couple questions, and I apologize. I think it's Stacia, if I say your name wrong. Are you using the variable data for the inside of the letter? I'm not sure what she's asking there, but maybe that's an Excel question. Okay.
I am not.
Okay.
The letters are pre-printed in advance, ready to be mailed. I'm only putting the variable data, which in this case, it's the first and last name on the outside of the envelope.
Right. And then Rachel's
asking, is that correct?
I think that's what it is. Yeah. And then Rachel was asking the catchphrase again, which I think you're going to say. Your first letter was, I'll sell your home in 39 days, or I'll sell it for free. Basically, is what you right. Okay, and we'll go over that as far as how you're doing that. Let's see, Toy, can we get your letters and spreadsheets? Yes, you're going to get that. We'll have that we'll put that in the comments. We're going to get the letters, right, Tim?
You're going to get the letters. I'm not going to do the spreadsheets because every MLS, the fields are different, and it could be more confusing than it is helpful.
And then Rachel was asking, so you never called them, they always called you. Is that correct? Yeah. Yes. That's awesome.
If you don't mind cold calling, then you could add cold calling to the letter campaign and probably be way more successful than I was. All I wanted to do was mail 100 letters as fast as I could and get on with my day.
Yeah. Get the phone ringing. Rachel, do you want to add something there? There you go.
And the reason I asked, I think it's my connection. So if it's not clear, my apologies. Tim, I'm going to limit myself to Gulf Shores and Orange Beach. Mm-hmm. And there's only today, there's only 6. So I have the time. So I didn't know if it would behoove me or if I should send the first one and then call after that. If I add cold calling to it, just your thoughts on that.
Yeah. If you don't mind cold calling, I'd probably cold call those 6, and then I'd turn right back around and put a letter in the mail. And then send them 6 more letters after the first one. That way you're doing both. But again, I built this because I'm lazy. I'm not a cold caller. I don't enjoy it. This was way more fun to shoot a shotgun and have a bunch of birds fall out of the sky than try to hit them one at a time.
Yeah. Well, and right now, I think, 6 today, they'll probably, who knows, another 5 tomorrow, and, 6 on Wednesday or Thursday. And, as we get close, more and more into March, April, May, these numbers start going up. So it's a great time to get something like this set up, like you said, to get ready for what's coming, because we're going to see more and more expireds for sure. Yeah. Do it now and learn the system now while there are 6 a day. And you could definitely add the cold calling if you want. Maria's asking, do you print the letters on letterhead?
No.
Okay. Just sheet of paper. Yep.
Yeah. I'm going to show you the 7 letters here in just a second.
Okay.
You'll see how crude they are.
Sounds good. Cool. That's all the questions. So Oh, Alex has his hand raised. I'm sorry, Alex. Go ahead.
That's all right. Tim, I take it again, going back to what you said before, no business cards, no inserts, just the letter.
No. Keep it simple, stupid. And I have to give credit. This campaign actually came from a coach who is now deceased, God rest his soul, but Todd Bates is the one I got this program from. And he passed probably 12 years ago now, but he's the one that got this program, and I bought it and I just perfected it, and it is what it is. All right, let me share my screen again, and I will show you what the letters look like. Again, very crude. I'm not going to go through all the detail, but the letter number one, I will sell your home in 39 days or I'll sell it for free, guaranteed. Now, some of you are freaking out right now because you don't want to have to sell something for free, but I'm going to say, calm down. If you do a good job and you price it right, and I'm going to cover all that, how to do all that, you're not going to sell a house for free. I did this for 11 years. Every single day I sold one house for free. And it's because I failed to train one of my agents to show and have them sign the agreement I ask them to sign when this is presented. I make them say yes or no in the listing appointment. So put that on pause for a second, because I'm going to show you a little bit more about that. So basically, dear seller, it's not dear Jane. There's nothing about the seller, and that was to make it easy. I would have had to mail merge every single letter if I personalized the letter as well as the envelope. I opted not to do that. Frustrating going through the entire process, selecting an agent, enduring day after day of disruption, blah, blah, blah. I'm Tim Hollinden, top 1%, blah, blah, blah. We specialize in innovative services to sell your home faster and for more money in your pocket, blah, blah, blah. Pick up the phone and call me today, 429-3866. See how small my company is? This is not a letterhead, and that's the way you want it. Don't put this on letterhead. Don't put a big old logo up here. You want this attention-grabbing headline at the very top. And I chose to do mine in red and the rest of the letter in black. So I did print these in color, and I got budget conscious at one point when the market was really, really bad. I printed them all in black and white. I got rid of the red, just left it in big black bold. But that's the first letter. This letter alone, in sufficient quantity, will make the phone ring, but it generally doesn't happen. You got 7 letters for a reason. That's 2 months, guys. Expect this to take 2 months and people getting all the letters or most of the letters before the phone starts to ring. So don't start this and the phone doesn't ring the next day and stop doing it, because it's about consistency, keeping your name in front of them. Letter number 2, I offer no risk real estate services, no excuses either. Okay, now that your home's expired, let me ask you a question. Does the following scenario sound familiar? You make the decision to sell. It's exciting and frustrating. You clean, you repaint, you interview agents, selling your biggest asset. Hopefully you pick the right one, blah, blah, blah. Perhaps you've heard some of these excuses now that you've expired. It's a slow market, nothing selling. The unstable economy is keeping people from looking. Oh, I don't advertise there. Or the worst one of all, I don't know why it didn't sell. These are thoughts sellers are having. And by the way, the reason this works too is these are people that want to sell their house. They just tried and failed. They're raising their hand saying, come list me. No excuses. Question simple. Do you want an agent who thinks the MLS and a sign is going to sell your home, or do you want an agent who has an aggressive marketing strategy? It's your choice. The Hollinden team, EXP. I did add a logo down here at some point. I don't know that it mattered, but my advice would be to take that off. So that was sent out the Friday of the week that it expired, because letter 1 was mailed the day after it expired. So they've gotten 2 letters in the first 5 days.
Okay.
Letter 3, I'm addressing another concern. They probably distrust realtors right now. Are you afraid to hire another one, even though you know you need to? Even though you know you need to? Do you need to make top dollar on the sale, etc.? It's been my experience. Most owners whose listing has expired are distrustful. We all need to get as much as possible. If that sounds like you, there's another option. Me. You see, I'm not your run-of-the-mill realtor. I offer guarantees that make it risk-free to work with me, guaranteed. Like my easy exit listing again. Unhappy with my services? Fire me. They've probably never heard that before. I even offer a menu of commission rates. Disclaimer number 2, with all that's going on with NAR, make sure you're addressing the commissions appropriately in terms of whether or not they want to offer a buyer's agent commission. Just have to say that. Menu of commission rates. Basically, what I had was a pamphlet, or not a pamphlet, a one-page document that says, yeah, you can hire me for this percent and I'll do this percent and I'll do this percent and I'll do all of this, or this percent and I'll do all this and this and this and this, giving them some choice and flexibility. So they focus on the lowest rate, and then we get at the table, I say, yeah, you can pick whichever one of these you want. So it gives sellers options, not just a standard, whatever your percentage is normal in your market, which we're not even supposed to say. So don't say that. So that was the 3rd letter. 4th letter, sellers, did your last agent have a 190-step marketing strategy to get your home sold? Yes, I actually had a list of 190 things it takes to get a house sold. They've never heard that. They've never seen that. Most agents practice the 3 Ps: put a sign in the yard, put it on the MLS, and pray another agent sells it for them. That's exactly what I say in my listing presentation. I'll pull out a booklet of 20 pages, 190 things I do to get your home, and I'll throw it on the table, let them look at it. They're like, holy crap. Do you see how this works? I mean, I got 9 out of 10 listings once I got in the house. This will work. So terribly frustrating. You thought you interviewed well and hired the right agent. There's a bit more to it, which you probably found out by now. The agent you choose must have a marketing strategy, blah, blah, blah. Typical marketing strategy. This isn't the 3 Ps. This is another one: a sign, a few ads on Facebook, a couple of open houses. I did that because Facebook started getting popular, but I started out with the 3 Ps. These tactics, and worth any real estate agent worth its salt, do not sell homes, but it's unreasonable to think that you would know this. It's sort of an industry secret, etc. I'm not your average agent. You may have guessed that already by the letters you've been receiving from me. If I were to list your home, I would apply my marketing strategy of 190 steps. Obviously too many to list here, but I think you see the difference, 3 versus 190. Now you may not be ready to interview yet. You may need to take a breather, understand your frustration. I'm always addressing what they should be feeling at this point. And then obviously the marketing is centered around those feelings. Letter number 5, sellers, I use high-tech tools that allow me to capture every potential buyer. Once you've made the decision, every day that goes by without a contract can be frustrating. Keeping your home in pristine showing condition. Not all agents are created equal. Right tools. I was using Craig Proctor's 1-800 number sign writer system when I did this. And I actually had, and I've changed it since then because I stopped using it and went with a different company and just kind of modified this. But I had a call capture system. So every sign had an 800 number and an extension that belonged to the house I have listed. And in this paragraph, I would say, here, you can try it right now for free. Well, guess what? When they tried it, I got their name and their phone number. So I knew who was seeing my letter and who was acting on it. And again, I'm purposely going through this quickly. You're going to get all these to look at. Modify them for your usage. Just remember big captions and be consistent. A lot of mail. Take somebody 7 times to see a display ad before it starts registering with them and is worthwhile. This is very similar to that. Think sold, letter number 6. My list of benefits probably doesn't seem like much of a novelty anymore. You've read about some of them in my letters. Farming guaranteed, high-tech tools, guarantee and sell your property in 39 days, or you pay me nothing. So at this point, maybe it doesn't even register these innovative ideas, except if you want to get your home back on the market and actually sell it this time, or if you want an agent that performs, or you want top dollar, or maybe it's because you've already decided to call me. Go ahead, you'll be glad you did. That 6th, last letter, and then we're going to get into the kind of the contract I have them sign. Sellers, have you found your dream home yet? This is where I say, well, obviously you must have already sold your house, and I introduced myself as being able to help them as a buyer's agent. I'm surprised I haven't heard from you. Your home's been expired for several weeks now. My last several letters, I'm reminding them what they've seen, but I still haven't heard from you. Now, by the way, as soon as somebody calls, take them out of the spreadsheet so you don't have egg on your face. Remember to do that. So I'm assumed a well-qualified buyer's surface who have completed a contract and met all the contingencies. Congratulations. My next question is, have you found your dream home yet? And then I introduce my buyer's services. because some people have sold and now they've got to hurry up and find something. Now they've seen an aggressive realtor over the last 7 weeks that's probably going to work just as hard to find them a house as well. So that is that. And then lastly, I said, this is to get me in the door. I probably only had 3 or 4 people in 11 years take me up on this. Because when I go into the listing appointment, I preview the house. I put all my stuff on the kitchen table first. So we have to end up there, preview the house. I get to know and develop rapport with the seller or sellers. We get back to the kitchen table. Here's my listing presentation. Here's my CMAs. This is what I think we should list it for. This is what I think we should get for it. Now, you responded to some letters that I've sent you. And that very first one said, I'll sell your house in 39 days or I'll sell it for free. Are you interested in learning what that program is like? Yes. Okay, here it is. So this is where I make them check yes or no, sign, date, and print. You can make this however you want. These were my terms. You can make them your terms. My commission's 7%. I'm offering 3.5 instead of 3 or 2.5. And when I listed that property, you better believe in the agent notes, I said, agents notice the co-op commission is 3.5%. Appraisal must be ordered and paid for upfront by seller. And when they, oh, I don't want to do that. Well, here's why we do that. I don't want to determine the value of your house, and I don't want you determining the value of the house. We have a third-party unbiased appraisal determine the value of your house. And you pay for that. And then you price the property at the appraised value upon receipt of the appraisal by the listing agent. So let's assume they listed their property today on a regular listing. We ordered the appraisal. 10 days later, the appraisal comes in. We listed it at 500. The appraiser says it's worth 485. In order for them to get this guarantee, they then have to, the very next day, lower the price to 485. That's what this says here. The 39-day guarantee starts. So I'm 49 days, or excuse me, I'm 10 days in. The 39-day guarantee starts the day after the price is changed on the MLS to this amount. Seller understands that they will still have to pay the cooperating agent 3.5% up here, even if it's me, the listing agent, that represents the buyer. So basically what this is saying is we have a 7% listing. We're offering 3.5 instead of 3, or whatever the rates are negotiated to be. And if the 39 days passes, I'm selling it for free, but I can still represent the buyer. And I look them in the face and say, I'm going to be highly motivated to find the buyer, even more so than early on after I've already lost the opportunity to make money as the listing agent. They start to get it. By signing below, and if this option is selected, I've got them agreeing to a dual agency in advance. Excuse me. If the home is placed under contract within the above referenced 39 days, this guarantee has been met. I don't care if it closes or not, even if the contract subsequently falls through for any reason whatsoever. You know, I did my job. If it fell through, it's outside of my control. I'm not responsible for that. If an offer has been received that's equal to or greater than 90% of the appraised value, then this guarantee has been met. Why do you do that, Tim? I do that to keep the seller from saying, I don't want to accept that $495,000 offer 29 days in on a $500 asking price. If I get them an offer that's 90% of their asking price, I've met the guarantee. They don't have to take it, but it pulls it off the table. So I've got all these things in here that make it make sense. It's fair because the value wasn't determined by me or them, by an appraisal. And then the guarantees are met under certain conditions. So lastly, if any of the above terms are not strictly adhered to, then this guarantee is null and void. Now, this can be your letter. You can say, price it at 95% of appraisal. You can say, price it at 105% of appraisal. You can say, if an offer comes in 95% of appraisal, make it yours. I racked my brain because at the time the market was horrible. What's the number of days that's fair for them and fair for me that I can get this done by if they price it correctly? And I came up with 39. In today's market, you might want to say, I'll sell your home in 10 days or I'll sell it for free. So again, all this is modifiable. This is your deal, not my deal. Make it yours and make it make sense to you and make it favorable to you financially. So they check, yes, I want it, or they say, well, knowing the terms and conditions, I'm really not all that interested in it, which really happened almost every single time. They check, no, I don't want it. I'm off the hook, 39 days off the table. We do a regular listing because they loved me. They loved the presentation. They loved the comps. We agreed on price, et cetera, get the job done. 3 people took me up on it. 1 person, I had to sell the house for free. And, I sold that house in 41 days instead of 39. All because my buyer's agent didn't present this plan. So I couldn't obviously hold them to that when they never saw it, never signed off on it, yes or no.
Tim, can I ask something on this? So
yes.
like the guarantees that I've done where I will say I'll sell it for free, and I'll do it with 0% on my side, but we still have it in there that we're going to pay the cooperating agent. They're going to get their fee. Is that part of your deal as well?
They're signing in this case, and again, all this is negotiable, guys, but in this case, they're signing a 7% listing and they're agreeing to 3.5% offered to the buyer's agent.
Right.
So if I'm the buyer's agent, I'm past the 39 days, I'm getting 3.5% instead of 7 and giving half of it away.
Gotcha. Okay. Guys, what questions do you have off of that right there? Because I use guarantees all the time, and we've trained on that. We could do some more trainings on that, in the future here. But it definitely gets the phone ringing, it gets you in the door. There's things you can do with that, I've done the guaranteed sale. I'll buy your house. I've never had to buy a house, whatever. But it works phenomenally. There's different kinds of guarantees you can do. I think the key is, remember, this is your program. You write the rules. Like Tim said that over and over. You can change this however you want. You could do 29 days. You could do 49 days. You could do 10 days. You could do, again, there's some conditions in there when it all works out. It's very rare that you're going to have to, actually put that guarantee into place in that sense where you're actually selling it for free. But here's the thing too, how many referrals do you get when you do something like this? I mean, it's like what that can turn into down the road is huge.
Mm-hmm.
And how many buyers can you pick up because you're marketing the heck out of that thing and you got your signs out there and all the different things, So Troy, go ahead. You got a question there? Raise your hand. Unmute yourself.
Yeah. Hey, thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Tim, for doing this. This is great stuff. This is really good. I love the verbiage, everything that you're doing. So say, for example, if they put no, are you giving them 6%? Are you doing 6% after that?
It's all negotiable.
That's negotiable. Okay. You also gave me an idea.
Generally I would, but remember my menu of commissions, they can then decide which commission strategy they wanted. And the top one was 7% with the guarantee. Then there were several others as well. So it's really up to them.
That's awesome. Also,
after they see everything I do, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was going to say there's a coach I have that does this when you have a listing. Do 7-letter campaign around your house when you have a listing. You can actually get more listings with this same approach.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's all kinds of guarantees out there. This is just one that I've, proven success in my case. My whole business was built around this because I took a crap ton of listings. And as Jeff was just saying, if I had 80 listings, I might pick up 40 buyers. There's 120 deals. I got up to probably my best year was 180 transactions.
Wow.
And 60-70% of those were listings and the balance buyers off of those listings.
Amazing. Thanks, Tim.
Yeah,
my pleasure.
Good stuff. Maria, go ahead.
That last letter you showed, that was a letter. I just want to clarify it. Was it a letter or that's what you were showing at your appointment?
The sheet that made them choose yes or no and sign that it was not a letter. It's something I pulled out of my briefcase when I got to that saying, hey, you called me about this guarantee. I want to go over how that works. And then I made them sign it yes or no.
Okay.
Good question.
I have guarantees too, and it's 15 days.
Okay. Yeah. In this market, that's reasonable.
Yeah.
And when the market worsens, you can make it 25 days or 30 days or again, it's your program. Make it work for you.
Yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think about that, that list of 190 things that you would do. I think most of it, if you really just thought through all the different things that you're doing, to not only market, but here's the process. One of the forms that I send out, it's this, and Aaron Ken and I picked this up from Aaron, the 88 types of turbulence. That's what we have. Things that could stop the deal from getting to closing. Which again, when we get to the FSBO part, Tim, like that's great for something like that. But even like this, here's all the reasons why they don't want to try and sell their house on their own. Here's 88 things that could go wrong from beginning to end. But when you spell that, and we're all doing this stuff, we're all in there to get the deal to closing. But when you spell it all out, all the different things that you're doing, come up with your list. It's like, cost is a factor in the absence of value. We talk about that all the time. When you're showing, here's 190 things that I'm going to do, and that other agent might be doing some of those, probably not everything, but they're definitely not spelling it out. It's, I haven't done this for a while, but I would get 7% all the time, above and beyond. They were looking, then they would never even be an issue. They would never fight me on it because I just showed them all the stuff I'm doing that's so far above and beyond what everybody else was doing. So, here they are looking at, 4%, 3%, all these, I'll sell your house for $2,000, period. These flat fee companies, that kind of stuff. I'd walk in and get 7% because I was just spelling it all out there. Here's all the stuff I'm going to do, And so, think about all the stuff you do from beginning to end to get that house sold and get that down on paper, and have a document that you put together, 2 or 3 page, 4-page document, something like that you're putting out there. Go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, you just made me think of something else. When I'd get pushback, well, I just talked to so-and-so and they said they'd do it for 5%. I'm like, oh, really? Okay. Did you ask them to do it for 5%? They're like, oh, yeah. I said, how long did it take them to make the decision to go to 5%? And they'd say, oh, they made it quickly. I say, if they're that careless with their money, how do you think they're going to handle your money? Silence.
Yeah, exactly. So, Toy, go ahead.
I noticed on your letter 3 is when you first had your phone number. Is that true? You don't put your numbers on the first and second letter?
No, I think I did. I may not have scrolled down all the way.
Oh,
or
okay.
if it wasn't there, then it should be.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Cool. Any other questions, guys, with this? Tim, do you have any more that for this particular piece? Because we'll carry this on into part 2, but
part 2 is going to be all about FSBOs. Everything's exactly the same on the process and the systems. I've got 7 different letters for the FSBOs. That's going to be the only major difference. So come back if you want those letters. Come back again. Was that March 26th?
We got it March 26th. Yeah, we're doing part 2.
I think that's when it is. So come back on that day. We'll do the FSBO. Again, a lot of it's going to be repetitive for the new people that weren't here today. That'll be on that one, but you'll get access to the 7 FSBO letters as well.
There you go.
So I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Joseph.
There's a guy that was talking about using title companies and mortgage companies, and I feel like it might be a problem coordinating the situation because it means that you have to find a way of sending the addresses to the title company every day or something like that, and hope that somebody is going to act on it in real time before it. And then at the same time, the title company might insist on putting their addresses on the letters, which will end up that most of the letters will end up in the trash can too.
Right. Yeah. Good points. I agree with you. My relationship with my title company is amazing. I could go to them and say, hey, I want you to do this, and they would be happy to do it. But I'm a control freak. I want to do the work. I just want them to pay for it. So I might ask them to give me a box of paper and 3 boxes of envelopes and 100 stamps every month. They can run that through their office supply expense, and then I'm in control of the quality. Because the last thing I want is, oh, sorry, we didn't get the mailer out since last Tuesday. Jane was sick. And then I'm screwed because of it. So I would keep it in-house if it were me for that reason.
One thing to keep in mind too with these letters, you could always print out 1 copy of each letter yourself at home, and if it's just monetary wise, you don't want to use your printer, just take that to Staples or Office Depot, whatever, and get 100 copies of each, and just it'll cost you all of probably, I don't know, 50, $60 or something, 2 cents a copy. If it's black and white, a little more for color, but the color will jump out like that, those top headlines. Gloria, go ahead. You got a question? Unmute yourself.
Good morning. My question was, once you grew this to those larger numbers that you were sending out every day, at some point, did you have someone that was assisting you with the process?
Yes. Yeah, I did this all by myself for about a year. And then once my expired starting increasing every day, and I was continuing, granted a year later is kind of a bad example, but 7 weeks max, usually about 6.5 weeks, I'm done. I don't do anything with them ever again, other than maybe once a year in the spring, I'd send a postcard to everybody in the database. Have you had any thoughts of putting your house back on the market this spring? That sort of thing. And I'd get 5-10 listings off of that mailer just by hitting these people an 8th time out of the blue.
Cool.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Okay, so when you had your first appointment and you met them inside the house, and if you saw the obvious reasons of why it expired and it was not selling, do you ask them what kind of feedback they had from the previous listing, or if there's god-awful smells of animal or cigarettes, or you need to fix the roof, or you need to do this? Are you upfront with them and say, we need to make these repairs before we go back on the market, or it's going to expire again?
Absolutely. Number one, here's the first question I would ask a seller in their house. I would say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I hope it's okay with you, but I want to be 100% honest with you tonight. I'm not an agent that's going to blow smoke up where. Are you okay with that? Yeah. And they always said yes. And if their house stunk like cat pee or needed repairs, I would just tell them, I'm sorry, I can get your house sold, but I cannot offer you this program because of this and this and this. So we have 2 options. You can fix those things, or we can go ahead and put it on the market, but I will not offer you the guarantee under this situation. Right. And they respected that. Oh, you're finally an agent that's going to tell me the truth. Why didn't my first agent tell me the house smelled like cat pee? I live here. I don't know that because part of my normal smell, you know what I'm saying. But absolutely, complete honesty, and I reserve the right to pull it off the table based on what I see. In some cases, I would say, you know what, there might be some latent defects. What I'm going to add to this list is I'm going to require you to get a pre-home inspection, and we're going to fix anything that's life, safety, health related in order for this guarantee to be on the table. It's your deal. Make it what you want. I
just typed that in the chat box about the inspection. Yeah. I've encouraged a couple of mine to do that just for it needed it.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I've learned, I mean, I do that with all sellers, but especially with expireds, is trying to find out find out what they're looking to do. Well, we're moving out of town. We want to get closer to our grandkids. So we're moving to, we're moving to Florida, to be closer to the grandkids. Okay. How much, let's think about this. What do you need? How much is it going to take you to do that? Well, we need, we need about, $50,000 to do what we need to do, to put the down payment on the house down there, here's our moving costs, whatever. And then when you start running numbers on some of these, like where they were listed and where they expired, well, they've got enough equity in their house. They were listed to where it was going to be, 80,000 is what they're going to walk away with. But let me just ask you, I mean, I'm not trying to cut you short on what your house could sell for, but, you've got room here to accomplish, to move forward in your life. You just told me you need 50,000 to do what you're going to do. We could list it here and you're going to walk away with, 60,000, whatever. But here's a $20,000 difference from where you were listed before. And let's just look at when you start running some of these numbers, sometimes it does just make sense to me. Like, let's just move forward. Is it worth sitting here for another 4 months and all the stuff you have to go through to get this house sold, whatever? We can bring this price down to here and get this thing done in a week and be under contract and be done. And you're moving and you're on your way, and get this closed in the next 30 days and you're out. And it accomplishes what you're trying to accomplish. Does that make sense, Tim? I've had that kind of conversation with people. Sometimes we just sit there and start having these conversations. Where they had it priced is just, they got so much room to come down on price to accomplish what they're trying to accomplish. And sometimes just having that talk, is it worth sitting here for another 4 or 5 years, whatever, and not getting the home sold and missing out on your grandkids? Or do you really want to get down there with your grandkids? Let's just get this thing done so you can move on with life. And you start running some of those numbers out. It's like, okay, wait a minute, you're right. Maybe we shouldn't have listed it there and held firm on our price for 4 months. And here's why it expired, you know?
Yeah. And that reminds me too, the conversation of, you could list it at 500 or you could list it at 475. You sat on the market 6 months before, didn't sell it, and your carrying costs are $4,000 a month. 4 times 6 months, you're already $24,000 upside down. You don't want to do that again. Let's price it for 480 instead of 500, sell it fast, and let you get on down the road so you don't waste another $24,000 on it.
Yeah.
Reminded me too, I asked the question, the call comes in, I'm interviewing them to tell me about your house and when did you buy it? Of course, I pulled it up on the MLS or the tax records, and I'll ask them, I said, how much do you owe on it? And most people would give me the answer, but the pushback I would get is, well, why do you need to know that? So, well, that's a great question. I need to know that because I do a lot of short sales, and I need to know coming into your situation to know if it's going to be a regular sale or a short sale, because there's additional paperwork and things I need to do if for some reason the sales price doesn't cover your payoff. I'm really looking out for your best interest in doing that. And I can do either, but I need to know what you owe on it. So that's good information to have too. I also try to get, what do you think it's worth? I don't put those questions back to back, but in the conversation, I might ask it as the 3rd question and the 10th question. And then I know what they want to get for it. And then we'll figure out through the CMA whether that's realistic or not. But it gives me a sense of what I'm walking into.
For sure. I love your idea too, the call capture idea, I thought it made me think about like today in this day and age, you could put a QR code on your letter, and you can capture information. And there's ways to do that. You can do QR codes for free, websites that'll put that together, leading to a page where, it's just, who's going in there and you can track all that. So now you're finally like, wow, okay, they're reading my letter, and so anyway.
One thing in regards to that, one thing I'm about to implement, I've partnered with somebody that has a database. At the end of this week, I'm going to send out 705 postcards to their database. And we have the call to action is for a Yeti cooler drawing and 2 Yeti cups. So if I do that with we're planning on doing this like every 2 months or every 6 weeks, depending on the feedback that we get and the number of people we get in return. And also we're going to do the same giveaway on our Facebook page and social media stuff. But I could include that QR code to sign up because you automatically capture their information or whatever they need. And then by them putting their email address in there, you have that email address. They're allowing you to send them emails because they put it in there. So that's what I'm about to implement. An ongoing, every couple of months or whatever, drawing.
Sure.
That sounds great.
Really good. So cool. Any last questions, guys? We're running a little over, but great stuff. Great information. Everybody good?
Would it be possible?
Whoa. Oh. Here they go. Toy, go ahead.
You said the FSBO is not until next month?
Yeah, the 26th of March. We'll do part 2 on this. Okay.
Am I reaching out too far, Tim? Would it be possible if you can give us the FSBO letters?
I want to make you come back.
I will to come back. I just want to start implementing it right away. A month is a long time away.
Yeah. Well, you got to get expired mastered before you add FSBOs.
You got it.
Expireds is growing, guys. So it is a great time to get this into play. I think to go back through, watch the recording. I'll make sure this recording is up within the next 2 hours. Okay. We'll have this uploaded into Workplace. It will also be on our Freedom Team. If you're not part of EXP, you can go to EXP Freedom Team on YouTube. You can find it there, or just ask the person that invited you here, that you want a copy of the recording. They can help you get to it as well. But the recording will be there. And in the comments on the YouTube recording, I'll make sure we get the letters on there as well as into Workplace. So we'll have all that stuff available for you guys. Okay. You can start working on this, but great time to do it because, like Rachel, you said, like the number of expires right now is low, but we're seeing them. they're coming back. We didn't have hardly any of them for years, but they're definitely coming back, and it's only going to increase as we go further and further into the year. So great time to get something like this into play and just start learning how to do it. Once you got a system down, a little bit of time to prepare it, 3, 4, 5 hours, but once it's done, it's done. And now you just know what to do and you get in that routine. And so like Tim was doing an hour a day, this might take you 30 minutes a day, but every day you just get up and you do it. And next thing you know, you're carrying 5, 6, 7, 8 listings at a time and getting the phone to ring with some of these. That's what's going to happen with this over time. So,
and Maria had asked if I send this to investor-owned properties, and the answer is yes, absolutely. And that made me think of, there are builders that have their own real estate company, and I wouldn't realize this, but I'd start seeing the same name over and over and over on certain listings when they expired. If I found that to be the case, then I would no longer mail to that particular type of expired. If, ABC builder also had ABC Realty as an example, but definitely you want the investor-owned properties for sure.
For sure. All right, guys. Well, thank you very much, Tim. Thank you. Great stuff.
My pleasure.
Good stuff,
It's
everybody.
fun.
Yep. Awesome.
Thank you, Jeff.
So,
Thank you,
appreciate you putting that together. I know you're busy, got a lot going on, so we appreciate your time jumping in here, pouring into everybody. Guys, get the recording, get it set up if you want. Okay. It's all here. So we'll be back next week, next Tuesday, just first Tuesday in March. Open mastermind. Anything you guys want to talk about, bring your questions. Invite your friends to come. The more people on here, the better. The more input we get on everybody. So great to see everybody. Have a great Tuesday. Have a good week. Okay. We'll see you next week.
Tim, can I get a quick question, Tim? I don't know.
Oh, another quick question. Yeah, go ahead.
I had a listing that I know the price is high. The house would have not upgrade that much. She bought it like 235, and they want to sell like 335. I mean, like $100,000 more. They want to reduce it to 285, but now she want to withdraw it. You can get a chance to draw it, to have another buyer showing it. What did you respond to that seller? I mean, I'm on my way to pick up a sign right now. She want to update the house and thinking either rent it out or maybe we list it. I don't know. Hopefully they go with me. Or how did you approach that?
As it pertains to what we've gone over today, or are you asking a different question?
Well, kind of what is going on today. This will be my listing. We expire in about 1 week, and we kind of withdraw early. So how do I get that expired listing back on the market with my, how do I retain that seller?
Well, first I'll tell you, my philosophy is never, ever, ever, ever take an overpriced listing unless your seller will agree to a pre-signed price adjustment 10 days into the listing, 14, 30, whatever it is, at your recommended price. You don't want a listing that you can't sell. It's a waste of your time and a waste of your money. So what I would do if they were at 300 and it's about to expire, or it's already expired and you want to get it relisted and they're wanting 285 and you still only think it's worth 250, you need to be honest with them and tell them that. Remember my first question. I hope you're okay with me being completely 100% honest with you tonight. That's why I do that, because when I give them the bad news, they remember that. They say, remember, I told you I was going to be completely honest with you. There's 1,000 agents in town that'll come list your house for 300 again and tell you they can sell it. That's illegal, because all they're doing is putting their sign in your yard so they can get buyers off of your listing. And that's unfortunate for you. I don't do business that way. So go back out there, get them to list it for 275. And if you think it's really worth 250, say in 30 days, pre-signed price adjustment to 250, or I don't want the listing because I spend too much marketing time and dollars to get listings sold. And I don't take listings that are overpriced, especially one that we know is overpriced because it's sat here on the market and didn't sell for 6 months or whatever it is. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Good.
All right. Thank you.
Right. Cool.
All right. Thank you, guys. Everybody have a great day and a great week.
Thanks, guys.